Welcome everyone to another edition of Play It Through, and on this edition it's Shark, brought to us by Taito. Shark is a classic shoot 'em up where you are controlling the Sky Shark, the plane, blasting enemies through 5 different levels before the game repeats and you can start it all over again. For this run though, I will just be completing one loop of the levels, completing each one of them one time. As we begin the game, you can see at the bottom of the screen you have your life count as well as how many bombs you currently still have, as well as the high score that you're trying to currently beat. It won't be too long though before we're able to overtake that. Our goal early on is to get the S symbols as quick as possible. This is the power up for the shot so that we have a much more powerful shot that allows us to take care of enemies. Once you get weakened and lose your power-ups, it can be hard to actually gain them again in this game to be able to really give it your all. Like always with these kind of games, it's a lot of memorization and very quick reflexes is what you need in order to be able to get through it without losing too many lives. The bombs in the game are extremely useful. They unfortunately can't take out flying enemies, but they can take out the ones on the ground. But more specifically, when you use it, it gets rid of every bullet currently on screen. Now, if one of the enemy planes is coming your way, you're still going to end up getting hit by them potentially, so you have to be very careful when you use your bomb that the plane type enemies don't end up still hitting you. However, it does very much come in handy to use those bombs at certain times in order to get rid of those bullets at the right moments in order to be able to continue without getting hit. Here we're going to take out this big tank using some of our bombs. You don't have to worry about being too conservative with the bombs. There are a decent amount of them that you're able to pick up throughout the game. Right here is the end of level number 1. Each level ends with you coming to a runway and landing and taking a little break. Thankfully you don't have to actually land the plane. Nothing like Top Gun or anything like that. The levels are pretty much more of the same with just different types and amounts of enemies that are going to be coming your way at different times. Here we have all these tanks being dropped off onto the beaches. Be careful of that. You can kind of take out each one of the tanks as they're coming out before dealing with these plane that comes next. Like always, as soon as you see one of those S symbols, try to do your best to get to it. Enemy fire in the game can be extremely difficult to see. Even though it's flashing and such, on certain parts of land it can be very hard to actually tell when bullets are coming your way. Thankfully, when you're over the ocean though like this, it's a little easier to be able to see the bullets that are making their way towards you. While there's no sure strategies in the game, there's just a lot of kind of just practice and getting better at the title. You can keep moving as one of the main strategies. Bullets flying right at you normally. As long as you're moving, they're not going to be able to hit you directly. Though, of course, you could still accidentally run into bullets, which I have done many times during my runs of the game. For these larger planes, you can actually attack them through the back, the tail of the plane. Only the front part of it actually hurts you. Well, that and their bullets. But you can actually just kind of get up close and hit them that way if you would like to. The blue planes in particular are ones that when I see them coming, I kind of like start firing and move in the directions where they are. That way when they're dive bombing me, they don't dive right directly on top of me. Sky Shark is one of those games that's based off an arcade title. It's a decent port of the game Flying Shark, and interestingly enough, the NES version here was exclusive to the North American region. deal with the last few tanks before we come to the next airstrip and we're able to land and move on to the next level. As the next level begins, we're going to be bombarded by a couple of the blue planes. Be careful of those right away. Thankfully, we have a little bit of water as we have this river going through the land that we can kind of follow along and at least see some of the bullets. I recommend staying over the blue, of course. Thankfully, it opens up even more so you can see things quite clearly. Be careful of enemies that come up from behind. That's why you don't want to be too close to the bottom of the screen most of the time, unless you know for sure that nothing's going to be coming that way. Use your bombs accordingly. I like to use them usually on these ships, especially at the end when you're about to get hit by not only the firing power of the ship itself, but also other enemies join in the fray at that point. So usually a nicely timed bomb at the end of one of these ships is very useful. Plus you usually get at least one bomb per ship back. Just move back and forth trying to fire at the cannons on the ship. Use your bomb if needed as the planes kind of gather up a bunch at the end of the ship like the last one did. Remember, don't be too stingy with your bombs. If you do need them at any point, be sure to use them, especially on stuff like right here with these tanks. A big group of them that you can shoot them all down quickly, but they could potentially fire at you. Here I'm going to use one of the bombs to just take out this group of tanks getting ready to show up on screen. And finish up the level by landing on the next airstrip. Two levels left to go here in Sky Shark. As we continue on, it's going to be more of what we've been dealing with. A little bit hard to see though for sure in this area just because of the ground and buildings and the like, so be extra cautious and pay attention to all the bullets and such coming your way. There actually is a code that you can put in as many times as you like to instantly end up getting maxed out bombs and lives. It's one of those ones that involves just A and B consistently, but it's a very useful code, especially when you're learning the game for the first time. Sky Shark reminds me of a lot of other arcade shoot-'em-up games, in particular the 1942 and 1943 games, just because of similar kind of setup and the like. What is your favorite classic shoot-'em-up game on the NES? Any of them. Any of the vertical or horizontal shooters. There's so many great ones out there. And also, do you prefer vertical or horizontal scrolling shooters? For me, I don't know if I have a particular preference. I kind of like both a lot, as I have some favorite games in both categories. This spot in particular can be very difficult. A lot of planes, tanks, and those turrets coming at you. Bombs can be very useful to kind of help you out in this situation. Usually I'll stay around the middle of the screen so I can see what's coming up from below as well as what's coming up from above. Just a little bit though, as we reach the end of the stage and move on to the last level of the game. Unfortunately, since it is one of those arcade games with the looping and such, we don't have any kind of definitive ending or anything we get for completing the last level. We just move on to the next stage afterwards, so... Of course, this level gonna throw quite a lot at you. Rows of tanks as well as groups of planes. Being over the land here can be difficult to see some of the bullets, so pay extra close attention. A lot of times I keep my focus on my plane, so that way I can kind of see the bullets getting ready to come my way and I can quickly move out of their path. That's why usually like the back and forth strategy works relatively well. Far from perfect though. Here we have two big boats, both with turrets all on them. Go ahead and try to take them out using your bombs. You will be able to get at least a bomb pickup from this area, so don't be conservative with your bombs. If you have them, use them. It's a very difficult spot right there. As we make it back over land, we're getting attacked by some more tanks. I'm going to try to take them out. They do drop a bomb, thankfully. Go ahead and pick that up and then continue blasting your way back and forth and around the edges with these tanks. Here you have a giant mess of tanks. I recommend using your bombs on at least one row and then just try to dodge the other set of tanks. Here we have an aircraft carrier we're going to deal with. Use your bombs as soon as you get enough of the turrets on screen so you can take them out. Watch out for the extremely annoying consistently firing part of the ship. You can't take it out, you gotta deal with that part. Unfortunately, right as we get to the end here against the boss pretty much, I ended up losing a life, but it's so close to the end and I don't go back too far. I just went ahead and said, you know what, we'll just continue on. Finish off the boss here using our bombs since we have them. If not, just keep moving back and forth, dodging in between the various fire of the plane and keep firing yourself until the plane's taken care of. That's pretty much the end boss for the game. We just have to continue on a little bit longer until we make it to the airstrip. Now that we don't have any power-ups, you can see it's a lot harder to take out stuff. So a lot of times, usually when I would lose a life or lose my power-ups, it would be a reset and just start things over from the beginning. Thankfully, that's the end of the enemies. As we come to the end, we're going to land on this landing strip. And with it, it will wrap up this episode of Play It Through. I'd like to thank you for watching, and of course, I hope you enjoyed.